City of Stevens Point Police and Fire Commission meeting, recorded September 14, 2021.
I will call to order the September 14th, 2021 meeting of the Stevens Point Police and Fire Commission. Leanne, would you be kind enough to call the roll for us, please?
Hirschling. Here. Rozek.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Ostrowski.
Here.
Westcott.
I'm present too. Before we go to item 2, some of you may know that Fire Captain Paul Matlin is quite ill. He's very sick. And Bob is going to share a thought or two with you as we start this meeting about Captain Matlin, how he's doing. We are certainly going to do everything we can to support the captain and his family, but at the same time respect his privacy and his right to privacy as a patient. So Bob, what are you able to share with the commission here today, sir?
I talked to Captain Matlin a couple hours ago, told him that I'd like to talk about this situation with the Police and Fire Commission, and he said yes. Paul's in good spirits. It's been a little over 2 weeks that Captain Matlin called in sick, wound up in the hospital, and make a long story short, he has colon cancer. And the cancer is spread, and Paul he's in for the fight of his life. And I wanted to let the commission know that thanks to one of his neighbors, Amy Cantos, an ex-Stevens Point police officer, designed these decals. It says, "This is our fight, Captain Matlin," with a blue boxing glove on it, just to show Paul and his family that everyone here, as I keep saying at every meeting I can, that the fire department is a family, that this family will support Paul and his family. We also have these blue bands that we're wearing that says "Prayers for Paulie." And then we are going to design a t-shirt with the Stevens Point Fire Department logo, put Paul's number 70 in the center, put this decal on the back, and the men and women in the fire department are allowed to wear them as a duty shirt. They will be sold to members of the fire department. There will be kid sizes, so firemen's kids can buy these, and Paul's kids would know that we're in this together. That's about all I can say right now about the situation. At different meetings, I might have a better update, but I thought the Police and Fire Commission should know that Paul is in for the fight of his life, and the thoughts and prayers of every fireman, man and woman here, are with him and his family, and that whatever he needs, we're going to be there for him. I just want the commission to know that. Thank you.
Well, and Paul knows that he is also in the thoughts of this commission, certainly in our prayers. And Bob has already conveyed, and possibly through the commission liaison, Commissioner Kirschling, to Paul's family, that anything this commission can do to be of assistance to Paul or his family, both personally or administratively, we stand ready to support him through this. Also, with the discretion of my colleagues, I see Mr. Warzella is here. Mr. Warzella, you're from a rural mutual insurance company. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, it is.
And if I'm sure you would love to sit through 2 hours of this meeting because you have nothing else to do, but with the discretion of my colleagues and Chief Finn, Bob, I'm going to move the donation of $3,000 to the fire department from rural mutual insurance up on our agenda. Bob, you want to talk about this, or do you want Mr. Warzella to say something? How would you like to proceed?
First, I want to thank Brian and Rural Mutual Insurance Company. I'm going to turn this over to our training officer, Trevor Howard. Short intro that Brian contacted Trevor about 3-4 months ago now, and they worked on something, and I said a donation this big has to be approved by the Police and Fire Commission. They worked on what it should be. The $3,000 would be used for a window prop, and I'll let Training Officer Howard, Division Chief Howard, explain everything. Then we'll turn it over to Brian. As
Sure.
Chief Brian at the Stevens Point Fire Department, I personally want to thank you for this donation. It's going to go a long way in training the men and women of the fire department.
It's my pleasure.
Trevor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah, so a while back, Mr. Rosella approached the fire department and noted that he was able to give this donation to an organization of his choosing. And luckily for us, he chose the fire department. So we sat down and we talked about a few different options as to what we needed as far as a training prop. And it's called a fire frame window prop simulator, and what it does is basically, we do get acquired structures now and again that we are able to train on and tear apart a little bit, but this frame, it's basically a window frame that you put polycarbonate pieces into, and it allows our firefighters to break the window essentially over and over again, and create that muscle memory should we need to break a window. There's a situation where in the fire service we call it vent enter search, where we may have to go in through either a bedroom window, whether it be on the first floor or the second floor, and break out the window and climb in through the window and do a search of that room for potential victims, and then exit through that window. And this prop will give us that muscle memory and the repetition that we need to become very proficient and efficient at that maneuver to better serve our community. So again, Brian, we can't thank you enough. We appreciate it, and I'll turn it over to you.
Right, thank you very much, Trevor. I appreciate that. Again, my name is Brian Warzella, and I'm an insurance agent for Rural Mutual Insurance located here in Stevens Point. With the 20th anniversary of 9/11 happening just a few days ago, I wanted to take this time to say thank you to all of our firefighters, our EMTs, and police officers for doing what you do. Thank you for rushing in when people need you the most. Based on the events of that fateful day, I became a volunteer firefighter for the village of Whiting many, many years ago. Unfortunately, after some years on the department, I developed claustrophobia and knew I would not be, or I didn't want to put the lives of my brothers and sisters, or the citizens for that matter, at risk. So with my understanding of the firefighter and what they have to go through for training, it is my honor and privilege to donate these funds that will help purchase the fire frame window structure. This device will give the firefighters a chance to do repetitive training and fine-tune their skills. And with this life-saving training device, firefighters, both rookies and veterans, can hone their skills, get that memory, and then have it be like second nature to go in and save someone's life. So like I said, it is my honor to donate these funds to the fire department and help out any way I can.
Mr. Rosella, thank you. I'm going to move that the Police and Fire Commission for the City of Stevens Point formally accept this incredibly generous donation of $3,000 from Rural Mutual Insurance Company, and it be applied to the fire service in the manner that Trevor and Chief Finn have outlined. Is there a second?
I would be honored to second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Ostrowski. Is there discussion? If not, Leanne, would you be kind enough to please call the roll of the commissioners? If you are in favor of accepting the donation, please say aye.
Hirschling,
Aye.
Rozek,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Ostrowski,
Aye.
Westcott.
Aye, and a super big thank you to you, Mr. Rosella, and we appreciate your patriotism and your thoughts on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. I think those memories are vivid in all of our minds. At the time, 20 years ago, I was in the mayor's office in the city of Stevens Point, and it got pretty busy, as I think many of you may realize, even at Little City Hall in Stevens Point. So, Mr. Rosella, I salute you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. With that said, let's back up to the COVID update. Fire and police departments. Chief Finn informed me that the person who normally provides this update Assistant Chief Gemza is unavailable today. Chief, what can you tell us?
Yeah, sorry about that. Chief Gemza had this update, everything ready for you, and emergency came up. So I can tell you that we are following, watching the CDC and the FDA guidelines for any additional mandates that may be coming our way. I know he's been in contact with Portage County Health, Gary Garski, in reference to booster shots if needed. But other than that, everything's going pretty good here unless Chief Moody has something to add. I don't want to talk out of turn here. That's what I know is going on. And I know that we're keeping an eye on every update and attending meetings with Portage County Health to see if anything that we're doing has changed. Because right now, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask in the firehouse. If you're not vaccinated, you do have to wear a mask. You have to take your temperature every morning and fill out a form on the phone saying that you did this. We've been doing this now for 6-7 weeks. It's worked out well. And that's where we're at.
JB, did you want to add anything to that before I move to Chief Center?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Tom?
Yeah, the police department, we've really been back to normal operations. We haven't seen an impact with COVID here for some time now. Obviously, that's still happening in our community and waiting for guidance. Normally my conversations go to Chief Finn and with Assistant Chief Gemza if there's concerns that we need to put in place at the police department. And we keep those lines of communications open. We do have a meeting coming up. I think it's been moved to Thursday with Health and Human Services. So hopefully we get some more information and guidance at that meeting.
I think it is interesting to note that the South Central Wisconsin Healthcare Emergency Readiness Coalition late Friday put out a major advisory statewide that hospitals and healthcare facilities throughout South Central Wisconsin are experiencing a very high volume of inpatients, limiting hospital beds, putting a serious strain on resources. I'm sure many of you in the emergency area also received this. This serious situation is occurring across the 14 counties of this district. It's a member hospitals are being are asking communities for help. So I think we're all aware of the high volume of patients across the state of Wisconsin, and folks need to be careful and need to be vigilant. Bob, you look like you're going to say something. No? Okay.
No, sir. No, sir.
Are there questions for Chief Finn from commissioners or Chief Center? All right, I don't think any formal action is required here. Let's move on to the update with possible action on the collaborative problem-solving process between the fire department management and local 484. Again, commissioners, I know you had a conversation on this at the August meeting when I was unable to attend. I have watched the video. I don't know that I really need to revisit anything that you folks discussed. The Labor Management Alliance program, I have reviewed material from them and have done some additional due diligence on the organization. I would agree with whomever at the meeting last month said they're the gold standard. My colleagues in the consulting area tell me they are truly the gold standard when it comes to working with firefighters and EMS. So I think that box has been checked. There's one other item I would throw in here before we open it up. I have, and Commissioner Kirschland, I believe you have this too. Yesterday, the fire service received an email from Elizabeth Del Rey, MBA, Master of Social Work. She's with the assistant to the general president for the Labor Management Alliance program. in her email to Ben Molnar and Chief Finn, and Bob, I'm going to have you comment on this in a moment. She says they are drafting a letter. This email should really go to all commissioners after this meeting. They're drafting a letter explaining how the LMA team is going to be able to meet your needs and the requirements as outlined in your memo. That memo that she is referencing is the motion and material that was given from the Police and Fire Commission in July to representatives of the fire service. So it sounds to me like they're going to be able, at least according to this information, meet the requirements as outlined by the commission. Chief Finn, what would you add to that, if anything?
Right now, I mean, I know that I've been asked some questions about how the process works. I've discussed this with the union president. We both feel this is the gold standard, and waiting for them to send this letter by the end of the week, which then I will forward to my liaison, explaining the process.
Mm-hmm.
There was some delay because the Police and Fire Commission tabled it, so then we did send them a memorandum. So now this is where we're at. I do know that Chief Moody and Ben Molnar, the president of Local 84, have been talking with these people, and they're playing phone tag, and it's taken a little bit more time than I think we would have liked, or the Police and Fire Commission would have liked. But I think by the end of the week, we will have an answer to everyone's questions, and then I will forward you that process on.
I'm at least at this point, and I'll wait to see what's in the letter, but they have the motion from the Police and Fire Commission, and as commissioners, Nama, you may have this in front of you. The third point that the commission made in its motion, that the collaborative problem-solving process must include participation by all members of the department in order to ensure that all voices will be heard as part of this collective process. I'm moving. What was that?
Sorry, that was my phone.
You have a phone that sounds like a grinder, huh? Okay.
Well.
Okay. I guess at this point, before I turn it over to Commissioner Kirschling, who's done a lot of work on this, and then questions from my colleagues, but unless there's an appreciable change in direction, my due diligence indicates labor management is certainly compliant with the requirement the commission had that a professional firefighter EMS group be identified. This is clearly, and I would agree with whomever keeps calling it the gold standard. That's clearly what they are. They're very good, and have done a lot of good work around the country based on my research. Joseph, what would you add to this? I think I'm just going in circles.
I don't have a whole lot to add. You've hit all the points. I've been working with Chief Finn on a weekly basis on this. He's been keeping me updated of as far as where they're at. Like he said, Chief Finn had said that it's taken longer than everybody's hoped and dreamed of, but it is what it is. We should be getting more information, which I'm very much looking forward to on Friday. So the department has not been sitting on it. They have been working forward on it, or working towards what the commission has directed. And we just need to wait until the group gets us a letter on Friday, giving us a little more direction. So I really don't, you hit all the points, Gary.
I think to keep this process going after our conversation today, I'm going to be recommending the commission authorize the chief and the union to continue to work on this. I don't want to put this on hold anymore. I want it to continue to move forward. I want some progress made on this, and as long as all the voices are heard and collaborative problem solving is done professionally, I think the community, the fire service, and we all benefit from it. Yes, Robert, go ahead.
My one concern, and I have talked about this with the city attorney, is Local 484, per their contract, has put in a letter with intent to bargain. I believe, I haven't talked to Logan about this, but I'll be talking to Logan, Lisa, and Corey to set up a meeting for next week for the city's bargaining team to start coming up with dates and approaching local 484 to start bargaining and a new collective bargaining agreement. My concerns are there might be issues that are brought up in this LMA, LMI stuff that will be brought up at the table. And Logan knows of my concerns because we always come to agreement that once we start bargaining, nobody knows what's going on until a final deal is made, basically. And I don't want to, I'm not going to speak for Logan, but my concern was that we couldn't have two things going on at the same time. And I think the relationship with the local and management right now, I think we can have, if we start contract talks early in October, I think we might be able to have something done by December 1st. And I just don't want to slow down that process. If Logan thinks we can do both at the same time, then that's what we'll do. But that was a concern I had, and I thought the commission should be aware of it.
I've had a conversation with Logan and with Dean Dietrich. You have a couple of options available to you, Chief. As you know, the city could commence negotiations and basically put them on hold for the few days while LMA is in here. I think you've got lots of options. Certainly one of the key questions you need to ascertain from the folks at Labor Management Alliance yet this week is what is their timeline now? We are in the middle of September. When could they start? I mean, that's a fair question. They say, well, we'd love to get in there and get the process going, but it's going to be December or January. Well, then negotiations can proceed.
That would, I didn't mean to interrupt, I'm sorry.
No,
that was my intent. Once I
right
received the letter of the process, I was hoping the process might have some timetable in there, how long it took,
Absolutely.
and when they were coming. And if it did not, we would reach out to them and say, listen, we have bargaining going on, so this is going to, and we can suspend bargaining or we can do it both, down different train tracks, I guess. But until I received the letter from the LMA, Labor Management Alliance, and the process, that's why I'm waiting till next week to meet with the city management team so we could figure out a way to move forward. That's all. I just want you aware that we are entering into contract talks. That's it.
Commissioner Rozek, yes, go ahead, please.
This question directed, I guess, to President Uwsp and Chief Finn. It's been pretty well stressed that one of our conditions was the entire fire department needs to participate. And in working with the LMA, I guess I would like to see to have something developed that there will be signed proof of participation in regards to what they're putting together so that we can be assured that that step was taken.
That's when the Police and Fire Commission tabled the motion at the last meeting. President Molnar sent the whole memorandum that you sent to to myself and President Molnar on Local 484. He sent that to LMA. So this is what the Police and Fire Commission are requesting. We will have in writing by the end of this week a process. They put it, he is drafting, I spoke with my POC at the International Association of Fire Chiefs, point of contact. He is drafting a letter that will come from both the International Association of Firefighters, which is the largest union for firefighters, and the International Association of Fire Chiefs, explaining how our LMA can meet your needs and the requirements outlined in your memo. I expect to have this by the end of the week. Stay tuned. So I think by the end of the week, we should answer the Commissioner Morosek's question. They are aware of your needs and they're trying to develop a plan to meet your needs. And when I get that letter, I will forward it to you, and it will be up to the Police and Fire Commission to decide if this meets your needs. Does that answer your question?
Let me add to that. At this point, when I receive a communication that says they have our motion from the Police and Fire Commission, and the president of this organization is drafting communication as to how their organization will meet the needs and requirements as outlined, I'm going to, at this point, accept that on face value that they understand that the third bullet point in our memorandum requires including participation by all members. So I'm willing to go to the next step, continue this process. And as part of this process, this commission has been very adamant for a long time that all voices have an opportunity to be heard. I think we're all in agreement on that. I don't think there's any disagreement. Commissioner Mrozek, go ahead.
Right, and I agree with that. And you know, as far as for moving forward with this, but like I said, I think I just want to make sure that that is something that is very aware of when they are drafting their you know, written proposal of how this will take place, that will absolutely be spelled out to the participation level. And like I said, I guess as we talked too, when you participate in something, it is also obtaining, you know, some type of signed thing from each and every person that, yes, I participated in this. Then I feel that we and the fire department will have met everything that we set forth in there, not just a verbal saying, yep, everyone participated. To me, I want to see something like, you know, roll call signature type thing along with this process.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to let you know I do have a 2:30 commitment here.
You are there. I'm sorry.
Just want to briefly state my only comment that I have about this is that I think it is important that we maintain a sort of a separation between this process and bargaining. Everybody seems to recognize that. I think that that's certainly possible. It sounds as though Attorney Dietrich agrees as well. Just a couple basic ground rules at the outset should ensure that we don't run into any problems there. So that's basically my whole thoughts on it.
Thank you. I wish I had known you were there. I need more boxes on my computer screen here. So, any other comments from the Commissioner Kirschlane? You're the liaison. Ostrowski, Moore. I'm prepared to move this to the next level. Have the fire management team, the union, keep working with LMA. Let's continue to work with Elizabeth at Labor Management Alliance. And certainly one of the next questions amid all the questions you have, what's your timeline for the next steps to get in here and do it? So that's kind of I don't know that I'm gonna make a motion on that other than Bob can hear it in the management team. Is there any other thought? Denise, Joe, Bob? Yeah, Bob, go ahead. Commissioner Ostrowski.
I agree 100%. I think we need to keep moving forward. We are dealing with professionals, both at the department, at the city, on our commission, and at this LMA. At some point, we got to accept professionals, and there's no reason why that at some point we didn't like anything, we can't interject. So I would like to see the process keep on moving.
Yeah, anytime you do collaborative problem solving, there is process involved. Denise is right. There is process involved to determine participation, levels of participation, all critical parts of it. But that's part of their process that they outline. Jerry, what do you want to do?
Oh, I think this is exactly what we expected, that it was going to take some time and some organization to get everything moving. And I think that's the point where we're at right now. Chief, I agree with your concerns about the bargaining, but hopefully they're not going to be a sticking point. We can get past that. And, you know, let's keep moving.
All right. So my recommendation, if you want to form a motion, I'm ready to do it, that the chief continue to work with Ben, the union, his management team, with the Labor Management Alliance, move this forward. This commission will meet again in 3 weeks, so we'll be prepared for an update in 3 weeks. Everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Most definitely.
All right, I'm gonna make that a motion so there is some guidance about just basically get back to us in 3 weeks, see where we are, okay?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kirschlane. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Both say no. Bob, Claire?
Yes, sir.
Good. And I'm sorry I missed the city attorney there. I need more. I need more of those Hollywood scores on my computer. I'm sorry, Logan. I appreciate you sitting in here. Is Lisa Yakush with us by any chance?
No, she's not.
All right.
And
Logan, are you still here?
Just so you know, Logan's left, sir.
He's got that same 2:30 meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, there's a familiar face. Are you live or is that a photograph?
Well, I'm actually doing stuff while I'm listening, so, but I'm gonna have to cut out now too because we have that 2:30 meeting. I was just curious about your if someone could give me an update on the exit interview process item, please.
Absolutely, Mike. I can give you a call on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
All right, let's move to item number 4, discussion of possible action on removing the word interim from the chief of police title. I have a lot to say. I'm going to support this. I don't have enough positive, constructive things to say about Tom Zenner. Tom Zenner really has provided incredible leadership at a difficult time. It was toward the end of February of last year when this commission placed then Chief Skiba on administrative leave. Tom was put in a leadership role, providing guidance to the department at a difficult time, incredibly difficult time, as those of you who went through it remember. The commission formally appointed Chief Zenner after Chief Skiba resigned as interim chief of police. Tom initially had said, I'll hang in there for a while we do the search and screen. We did the search and screen. We all know how that ended. Tom, it would be very easy for me to sit here and cite examples of policy, procedure, things that he has improved at that department by showing leadership. Sometimes when people are put in interim positions, they become caretakers. They become basically placeholders until the next boss or person gets there. I never liked the term boss, director or leader. Tom has been anything but that. He has seized this from the beginning and provided assertive leadership, guidance. He has changed the tone and the tenor at that department. He has been anything but a caretaker, anything but a placeholder. He has been a chief of police. He is willing to stay for a while. We're not going to put a timeline on it. And I'm not going to put you into a position, Tom, to tell us how long you're willing to stay. Although I'm told that he would be around when I celebrate my 75th birthday, which is 5 years from now. So thank you, Tom. All right. I might have made that last part up. Yeah. I have been, and I think I'm going to let all my colleagues speak to this. It has been a tremendous job done. And I think by dropping the word interim, it's only going to continue to get greater and greater. Jerry, you're the liaison to police. You basically brought this idea to me some time ago. I'm going to recognize you for some thoughts, sir.
Well, working with Tom has been a pleasure, and it's not been easy all the time. We've gone through some difficult things in the last 2 years. Tom has done an outstanding job, and his leadership and his demeanor have helped heal the department and helped heal the entire city as far as things go with the police department. And I don't have a problem doing this at all. I believe it's the right thing to do. And my proof of that is the fact that right now, this is the first meeting in probably over a year where we don't have an attorney here. So we must be doing the right thing.
Commissioners?
I'm 100% in agreement too. When I saw that come on the agenda item, I'm just like, yes, this is exactly what we need to be doing. Fully support that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ostrowski.
Well, this is something I just didn't know we had the power to do, but ever since we started the search and screen, I had this in my mind. I just didn't know it was allowable. I would totally endorse this because of one thing mainly. Through this all, Tom has put his department first in leading it and improving it and in making it better for the city of Stevens Point. That is a chief. And I think he deserves to have that interim word removed because he hasn't been interim. He has been a chief.
Joseph, you got anything you want to?
Yeah, I completely concur with all of what you had said and what Bob had last just said. He hasn't been the interim chief. He's been the chief and he's done a fantastic job. And I'm happy to, very, very happy to have Tom leading our police department.
Right. Yes, Bob. Chief Finn.
Allowed to speak, or you got to make a motion, or
no? We always enjoy hearing from you, Bob.
I just want to say that, and I think Tom knows this, I never thought of him as an interim chief. As you very well know, both departments have gone through a lot in the last 2 years. And if it wasn't for Tom's leadership, mentoring of me, being in a similar position that I am in, and the friendships that we have found, it's been an honor and a privilege to serve with him, and he's one of the best of the best. I don't say that about a lot of coppers, but Tom, you're top notch. And I think throughout the hard times, we've leaned on each other because we're in unique positions. And I think, so I just wanted to say, Tom, you were never an interim to me, and I told you that. You were always a chief. And if I got anything to say, I think this is great that the Police and Fire Commissioner are doing it. The interdepartmental stuff that we go on, we talk on a weekly basis, and it's going well. And that's all I got to say. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Tom, I'm sorry. Alderperson Neville, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mary.
I've known.
I need more words.
That's okay. No, that's okay. I've known Tom since my drive-through Starbucks days, and he's just the same guy now as he was then. Calm and steady and professional. Good job.
And he's still at Starbucks.
Yeah, sorry about that, Chief.
I think we've said it all. I mean, there are those who basically are caretakers, and then there are those who grab the reins and they move an organization forward. Tom, we expect you will continue to do that. You will continue to aggressively, assertively apply the leadership to that division, continue to take it to new levels. You can't rest on your laurels. And one of the other things that I know all the commissioners appreciate is you, like Chief Finn, are good communicators. You don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call your liaison or call me. You're good communicators. I would be hard pressed to identify any time you or Chief Finn have surprised me at any time in the past. Jerry, you were the liaison to police. I'm going to allow you the privilege of making the motion, sir.
Yeah, I move and fully support the removal of the term interim from the Chief of Police, Tom Zenner.
From the Chief of Police title, Tom Zenner. Is there a second to removing the word interim? Second. All of you had your hands up. I'm going to give it to Commissioner Mrozek because she was just a little bit quicker. All right, Leanne, I'm going to have you call the roll since we are taking the word interim away, and he'll be the Chief of Police until he decides he doesn't want the job anymore. Leanne, call the roll, please.
Hirschling,
Absolutely, yes.
Moore,
Aye.
Mrozek,
Aye.
Ostrowski,
With complete agreement, aye.
Westcott.
Absolutely, yes. And let me have one footnote. That change is effective immediately. So, Tom, this change, you can start signing or dropping the word interim from the stationery, your signature block. You are Chief of Police of the City of Stevens Point. Do you have any thoughts or comments before we move on, sir?
Yes. humbling experience. Very nice to hear the statements that were made. It's been a long year and a half. Many things that we've done at the department, and I am very fortunate to have the officers that I work with, the leadership that we have in place. I mean, I could go on a list of individuals that have helped, and it has been difficult. Just individuals that are here, the Police and Fire Commission members that have always been there. Chief Finn, a great friend and colleague. Probably one of the more important ones, who doesn't get noticed often, but is always standing tall in our meetings, Leanne Spoon. There's only one person that's been at this department longer than me. She's got me beat by a month. We've seen a lot in that time frame. She's helped me in this role, budgets, capital, just everyday things that that may go best. You're coming into this role. I had a vision of what a chief was. Experienced 5 of them in my career, and I know I've had conversations with Commissioner Ostrowski. From what I saw of the role, didn't really appeal to me. The business aspect of what it is, and when you spend a year and a half in a position, you start to develop your own how you envision that position to be, and a lot of that help that I had along the way was through Leanne, and really above all the employees of this police department, and I look forward to continue working with them. I wish I could call them all by name, but somebody said they wanted to get out of here at about 3:15. So, Joe, I'll make it short.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, well done, Chief. All right, number 5, update with possible action on exit interviews. Since Joe needs to get out of here, I'm gonna make this a little bit shorter than I had intended. But as I was reviewing this in the last few weeks, the Police and Fire Commission has always supported exit interviews, from its employees to its leadership team to its chiefs. Over the years, that has taken on a lot of different shapes and ways it's been done. I remember commissions of the past, the exit interviews were a product of the chief of police or the fire chief. Then in 2018, this commission started talking about having the liaisons join the process of exit interviews. We reaffirmed that process in November or December of 2019, that the liaisons, police liaison, fire liaison, would participate with the chiefs in an exit interview process. And then we suspended that because of the pandemic and the protocols that we were getting from the government as far as exposure to people in the emergency services area. We have certainly all agreed in our careers of the value of exit interviews, that it can be a tremendous product and tool for improvement and development of an organization and improvement within that organization. The question I have here, I want to put this in writing once and for all, so there is a record for future commissions as to how, until altered by future commissions, how this will be done. Now, there's a couple of ways we can do this. I have asked Lisa Yakush. She hasn't joined us by any chance, has she?
Oh, she has.
I've asked Lisa Yakush. I know dating back into the 90s and turn of the century, the city had a questionnaire from the personnel department. Mary, you don't serve on personnel, do you? Mary Nebo? All right. That would be as part of the offboarding process. When an employer retires or leaves the city, they have to naturally go through Lisa's office for benefits, insurance, vacation, sick leave, pick a topic. And she also gives them an exit interview questionnaire in writing and asks them to return it. I would like her to start doing that for all exiting police and fire. So we need to figure out, do we want to have her get that questionnaire returned to her, give it to Leanne to give it to us, or send it to Leanne? Do we want to have the liaisons do the interviews with the chiefs? Would we prefer that we do those separately? I guess I'm going to throw it wide open here and hear some thoughts from you folks as to how you prefer moving forward. Exit interviews are a part of what we do. They will be a part moving forward. How do you want to do them? Joseph, you looked like you were going to say, Bob, you want to say something?
I don't mean to interrupt, sir, but there is something on the city council floor that was passed last night. Maybe Alder Kneebone could explain better about for city employees, because exit interviews, the way we've done before, for police and fire have never been done by HR, because under 6213 would fall under the Police and Fire Commission.
Right,
I think the city council said something about that exit interviews will be done through HR or a contracted service, which might mean going outside the city. And before the Police and Fire Commission writes anything, it involves that. I just want to let you know that there is something on the council floor. That's just information, so you know what the city is doing. Maybe Alder Kneebone can. I don't know exactly, but I do know that they're going to do some process in the city, but it would only be with Lisa or the mayor. I can't remember which one, or a contracted service. I was like, I didn't think it applied to us because our personnel fall under your jurisdiction. So
it doesn't. They can't create an exit interview.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know, but something's on the city council floor. That's all, sir.
All right, Mary, what can you help us out here with?
There was a discussion last night about a new process that President Johnson and Alder Shore with Lisa were put together. It gives people an option to go through someone other than their immediate supervisor, and it allows them to have someone else of their choosing there with them. So, for example, somebody from Park Department could meet with maybe Scott Badun in Public Works if they don't feel comfortable with Dan Kramer. So and I think there was a question about whether the questions for the interview should be part of the motion. I suggest looking at the video from the Personnel Committee meeting last night. I've been trying to find the agenda on my phone to look at the policy a little bit more. They've worked on it for 5 or 6 months. I think it's probably pretty good, and I suspect it'll probably pass next week at council if it comes through as a separate agenda item or even as part of the personnel docket. But I don't remember if it said anything about outside agencies, but it certainly would allow somebody else. They could bring anyone else into that interview that they wanted to, and it could be with someone other than their immediate supervisor in order to get a more honest appraisal, I suspect.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 1 second, Commissioner. I think most of us would recognize at the state or at the university, the exit interview was never performed by the immediate supervisor. It was usually done at the supervisory level above. For that reason, even if we had a wonderful relationship with the chief of police and the fire chief, there is a general recognition that people are a little more candid, a little bit more open if it isn't their former direct supervisor sitting there. As far as involving city personnel, the Police and Fire Commission would always have the discretion to have the HR office at least provide support to the commission in that area. We're on pretty good legal ground, but it has to flow through the Police and Fire Commission because of state law. When that might entail using Lisa to sit in with the liaison. These are hypotheticals off the top of my head, okay? It involved Lisa having her sit in with the liaison, and the two of them perform an exit interview as part of the offboarding process for all fire and police. She gives them the written questionnaire that I alluded to a few minutes ago and asks them to return that to Leanne for dissemination to the commission. We have all sorts of options here. I guess I'm interested in what you folks would like to do. Commissioner Morozek, you were next and very patient with me. Thank you.
So Mary, I understand that too, that when it's going to go through to the council is that it is not going to be your direct supervisor. It's going to, Lisa will be involved right now through HR to facilitate that exit interview. Is that correct? And then they can have another person at their choosing sit in with that exit interview.
I've got it up from the packet last night. It will be held with all terminating employees unless an employee chooses not to do so. Human resource manager or a contractor that specializes in human resource management shall conduct exit interviews for all employees. In the event the human resource manager is the terminating employee, then the city attorney shall conduct the exit interview. And the terminating employee has the right to have an individual of their choice attend the exit interview with them. And then if it's non-voluntary, they have to go through all of those appeal processes prior to the exit interview. And then there's a list of 13 or 12 questions. And then the human resource manager and city attorney will evaluate the exit interview to determine any need for changes in policy, actions to address serious allegations, or improvements to employee or manager training. And then they would report to the mayor and the personnel committee chair.
Well, I guess what I'd like to see on that note for the Police and Fire Commission is I do believe that we need to remove any management from that exit interview. So if it's going to be with the suggestion of having the liaison there and HR, whoever the representative HR manager conducting that exit interview along with the police liaison, and I guess maybe to follow suit to allow that terminating employee to have another person at their choosing sit in. I just think that we need to move in that direction. That's pretty standard. Again, I say it like from where I come from. You leave the company I work for, you're not sitting in front of your manager discussing things. Right. You're in HR. It's a much more open environment that if there were things going, both positive and negative, because you definitely want to hear both. It's an area where you're going to be more comfortable to speak about things. And again, there's always negative and positive to every aspect. That's the way I look at it. And there's opportunities, to potentially learn when employees do terminate. So I guess that's my thoughts on it, is that we should not be involving any type of police or fire management going forward with that process.
So if I may be so bold to put words in your mouth, you would be supportive of the liaison joined at the invitation from somebody from city HR to team, and afford the employee who is departing the opportunity to bring someone to the interview. Is that kind of it in essence?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Jerry, thank you. Jerry?
I think those are all great suggestions. My apprehension right now is that I think we should wait until the city finalizes their process, and then we should all read theirs and formulate ours on that, because I think that they should be compatible in process. And I just want to make sure that there's at least 2 people in the exit interview from Police and Fire Commission, or from, you know what I'm saying?
No, and I agree that we can, wait till this passes, assuming that it's, you know, it will be passing city council.
Right.
And then going forward with, so that we're more consistent with what they.
Yeah, I don't want any surprises from them.
Right. No, I agree with that, Jerry.
Things have a last minute change at times.
I'm comfortable pausing, but let me be very clear. Our exit interview process doesn't have to coincide with theirs.
I understand that, and I get it, but being that we are all from Stevens Point.
I mean, yeah, I understand. And maybe the questions that currently exist in HR are good. I have read them and reviewed them. Now, I've heard from Alder, Kneebone, and Denise, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm sensing they've developed some additional questions on the city council. I'm certainly more than happy to take a look at them. The only process that's going to be allowed under law to help move this forward is a commissioner or someone the commission hires to do it, to do the exit interview. I currently favor having the liaison to police, the liaison to fire, joined by somebody at HR to team it and to do those exit interviews. I think we're all going to be pleasantly surprised, unless things have gone radically wrong in my careers. The vast majority of exit interviews tend to be pretty positive. Sure, I've seen some over the years, but I think we're expecting to get volumes of issues and problems. And it's not been my experience in about 30 years. The vast majority of them are fairly positive feedback on an organization. Bob, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, a couple of things. One is I'm deadly against bringing in another organization at that time.
Right.
We have sufficient talent already. And I like to make the point that the commission is the final step on hiring people on the police and fire. So it's logical that we should be the last step on their exiting. So I think the use of the liaison and possibly an HR or another, I don't know if you can use 2 members of the council, I don't know, of the commission. But I don't think we need outside help. And I don't have a problem with, as some people have said, your supervisor. I have had exit interviews with my supervisors, and quite frankly, it gave me a chance to tell them what I thought. They did not like to hear some of it, but it did. I realize most people aren't as comfortable speaking as a big mouth like me, but I could very well go along with the liaison and the human resources, but I certainly don't want to add another layer of an outside firm or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I left that. I'm not going to favor an outside firm, or it's going to have to remain internal to the commission. And again, I stress that's state law, folks. We're not going to be able to sit and play with what the state legislature came up with here. Joseph, I know you're going to have to go on the phone here, but what are you thinking? You're a liaison. How would you like to do it?
Yeah, I am against bringing in someone outside. I think that at the very least, a liaison needs to be there with HR being there for support. The liaison leads the exit interview, and I am also in support if both liaisons or a liaison and another commissioner conduct the interview. And I'd like to see the process standardized, similar to how we do interviews, like for a chief, where we start out with the same questions, and if the questions lead down a path, the commissioners have the authority, have the latitude to explore that and to hear what they have to say. So it's standardized to a degree, so we're all on the same page starting, but obviously all exit interviews aren't going to be the same. And I want to have the latitude for commissioners to explore whatever it is that is either great, indifferent, or bad. But again, I'm not in favor of bringing an outsider. The commissioners are more than qualified. They know what's going on within the department, and there's no reason to bring an outsider in. And I think as if we can keep it as simple as possible, and not complicate things, that's the way to do it.
I think we're all saying the same thing. Yes, Mary, go ahead. I've a couple of thoughts.
I forwarded the packet from personnel to Leanne that's got what they approved last night. She can forward it. It's got a list of the 12 questions. She can forward it to all of you, and you can look over what they approved last night.
Sure, and we can nuance the questions. I think primarily we're looking for a nomenclature that moving forward, the police liaison will conduct exit interviews of police. Fire liaison would conduct exit interviews in the fire. Joseph, I'm going to have to do a little legal research. If we put 2 commissioners in the room, we may be creating what our parliamentarian might remember is called. Remember that, Jerry?
Yeah, that's yes.
And we're going to have to be careful. A negative quorum could exist. To give you an example, to bore you with parliamentary procedure. Sorry, Jerry. To give you an example, last month when I couldn't attend, there was only 4 of you. If 2 of you had participated in something, you could stop something from happening. So we'd have to be careful that we're not creating a negative quorum under state law. If, say, I were to join, or say the president were to join all of them, you may be creating that mess. So I'm going to support the liaison do the interview. I'm okay with HR being there to support the liaison. They don't have a lead position. I would like a questionnaire also be given to the employee as part of the exit interview. And I think it was either Denise or Mary suggested if they want to bring somebody along, I'm okay with that. I've actually seen that at the university a lot where people do that. I'm okay with that. Why is that,
Gary?
So that's kind of,
Why do people have to bring someone along?
Well, you're giving them the option if they feel more comfortable doing it. They don't have to. I mean, they're not directed to do it, but you have that option if you want to bring Joe Kirschlin along, you at least have
them feel more comfortable.
Chief, what's Chief Finn got to say?
Yeah, Bob, what you got?
I've been chief for 7.5 years. President Westcott, when I was made chief, he said we work under 6213. And that's 7.5 years. I think I got pretty good at knowing 6213.
Right.
And by bringing anyone from the city in, are you asserting any of your power under 6213? If you want to have 2 commissioners, you want the chiefs out, that's totally your decision, and fine. I'm just wondering, I've been saying 6213 since I've been chief. That's what you told me, and I read it all the time. I just want to make sure that the Police and Fire Commission is not giving up any of their power to the city council when it comes to personnel decisions. And by having HR involved, I don't know if you are or not. That's my only concern.
It's a fair question, and we have to depend on the professionalism of our current HR director and future HR directors. That what they hear in that exit interview, basically they can't do anything with it other than make sure the commission is aware of it. That they can't. It's very easy when the HR office is right down the hall from the mayor to go in there and say, "Guess what I learned?" Yes, you're right. That would absolutely be a violation of 6213 under the law. That would be a serious issue. I guess I'm looking that it's a natural, and we can continue this discussion. It's a natural to me that when you leave city employment, I don't care if you wear a badge or don't wear a badge, you have to go through the HR office to leave the city. And I mean, since they're going to have contact with everybody, they're going to be able then to say, "Oh, Officer Morozic, let me reach out to Commissioner Moore and make sure he realizes that you're leaving the city, and we can get an exit interview scheduled for you with the liaison to the police department." They also have access to that questionnaire. Are we abdicating or reassigning authority to the city? No, they're there strictly to support the commissioner, and we have to rely on their professionalism. Somebody else had their hand.
I'm sorry, I wasn't questioning your professionalism. I was just questioning the legality of the Police and Fire Commission.
Absolutely.
Under the 7.5 years I've been studying 6213. That's all.
I did run it by an attorney who's not engaged with this commission. They seem to think that we're okay with it. I'm certainly willing to have that conversation with the city attorney on a more formal basis. How would you folks like to proceed? Carry it over? Can I generally think that we have a general rough outline that the liaison would do the exit interview, that we would rely on a questionnaire either coming from Leanne or coming from HR office? Maybe we have Leanne sit in on the, I don't know, there's, I like the idea of involving the HR office because everything has to flow through there anyway. Chair, go ahead.
The only thing I'm concerned about is I think there needs to be 2 people from the Police and Fire Commission, or at least 2 people there. And not for intimidation factors, but for our own. None of us need, you shouldn't be alone in a room with anybody anymore.
No, I agree.
In any professional situation. So,
and I would be in agreement too. I mean, if we're not, I like the idea of not, you should at least have 2 people. If we're not in violation, the HR manager and potentially, 2 liaisons. I don't know, like you said, if we would be in violation of having the 2 liaisons there, but I don't know, I guess for a new person, especially learning the ropes, I'm sure, I'm coming in new to this too. So any opportunity, for experience too.
All right, let's try this on for size. We'll continue the discussion. We again meet in 3 weeks. In that 3 weeks, I can have a conversation with legal. Make sure to see if we're creating a negative or a negative form under the law. I do like the idea of at least there's some contact from the HR office that they can alert the commission. Leanne, are you automatically alerted maybe I'm asking the wrong person this. Leanne, when someone leaves the city, do they start with you or do they start with HR?
If it's a police department employee, I usually get a copy of their letter of resignation and then it gets forwarded to Lisa.
Okay, if it's fire, I assume it's.
I don't see that.
Bob?
I don't see that at all. So it must go right to Lisa.
When I get a letter of resignation, I advise Amanda and then we send it over to Lisa.
Yeah, so at least the HR office would be able to alert the commission that we have a resignation. The only unanswered question in my mind, I'm very comfortable having the liaison do the exit interview. I'm very comfortable that a set of questions either coming from the HR office or from Leanne's office is distributed to the employee who is leaving. Now, what I'm not totally sure on, if we can have a second commissioner in the room on the face of it, I think that's actually a better way to go. Jerry, I think you're right. If we can do that. All right. So we have consensus to move forward and got an idea of what we're going to do here?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to check, Gary, about the legality of the negative quorum, and then we'll address it in October. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, we meet again. Yeah, we meet in 3 weeks. It's 3 weeks from today is the next meeting.
All right, let's do that then.
Yeah, I'm all for HR office alerts Leanne, and Leanne then alerts the commission that employee X, Y, and Z is departing. Then that allows Leanne either to reach, maybe we're creating a bureaucracy here. Maybe HR office just goes ahead and works with the liaison to create an appointment for the exit interview. Let's be thinking about that. We don't want to create a bureaucracy with 15 moving parts. Although we are the government, we really do specialize in doing things like this.
Then it's got to be 50 parts, not 15.
Right.
Yeah, if it were the state of Wisconsin, we'd have at least 280 moving parts. So, all right.
Is there any?
All right.
But the question I would have too is where are these, if the commissioners are going to handle this, where is the documentation and proper filing and proper moving of these documents for contractual time taking place. I mean, am I supposed to be creating something in my, home, a person's because now you're taking their personnel stuff and you're moving it basically into your, that piece of paper or into your home. And is that really the right spot for that to be, or should that be going finalized back into the employee file and that gets kept, with HR? So we really have to think about that too.
I think Tom, I'll recognize you in a second. I think the law would require any type of documentation be kept on file with Leanne, who is the administrator for the commission, and back to the employee's file. Denise makes a really good point. And I know many of you use a personal email account. I, again, would encourage all of you to use your city accounts for obvious open records reasons there. Thomas?
And just to clarify, with police and fire, HR does not have the personnel files. And this might not mean really anything into it, but just that there's a clear understanding. The personnel files on the police department are maintained here at the facility. They do not go through HR. So if this was a document that would be going into a person's file upon their resignation, termination, or however that would be, it would still be maintained at the police department. And as far as I know, Leanne, you might be able to help on that, basically through police and fire, other than, I guess, benefits, they'd have a file down there. But again, all that is kept within our agencies.
Right. I think Lisa's got medical and a benefit file for all employees. Otherwise, I have the personnel files locked up in my office.
And the same over at fire, right, Bob?
I'm at the fire, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. But I think that's too kind of, the exit interview, I don't necessarily know if it should be kept at that level with fire or police. I'm almost thinking that if that's going to be filed any place, that piece of it is staying with HR. HR is the one who initially finalize the hiring. I mean, and that documentation there, because you guys don't keep their W-9s, their things like that. I mean, that all goes through HR, right? When they get hired, the forms that they fill out. To me, that's kind of like an exit packet.
Yeah, really the only documentation is the benefits package that we have an officer that meets up with, in this case, Lisa. All that documentation, anything within the hiring process, Leanne would know it better than me, as I always lean on her, but that's kept at the agencies. That's the one difference between law enforcement and fire when it comes to the personnel issues.
I think, and I know those of you who've known me for years, I'm a stickler for the law. I think the law would require, since the Police and Fire Commission is the agency conducting the exit interview, the liaison does the interview, that information that is the property under the law of the Police and Fire Commission, that those records would have to be retained by the administrator of the commission, which at this time is Leanne. I don't think those records could be disseminated elsewhere. Leanne, you have all of the administrative records for the commission, correct?
I do, yes.
Right. I mean, there are no administrative records of this commission anywhere else, are there?
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in that one, that if Denise,
you sound like it's the same. It's the property of the commission from start to finish, so it should stay there.
Well, I like that thought that would go with Leanne, and Leanne, Leanne is the caretaker of that, and it's not going back to a particular chief. It's not going in their personnel file. It's staying with Leanne and property of PFC. I like that idea.
Correct.
Yeah.
And again, it's the law. Well, we better be following.
The law would require, Leanne, correct me on this because she's really good at helping me out here. I think the law says the president of the commission is technically the custodian, or the custodian's designee. In this case, has always been Leanne. Is that kind of a quick summary of how this works, Leanne?
It is, yes.
Yeah. So you're right, Denise. I mean, technically Leanne is the deputy custodian. So, Tom, would you get her a little deputy badge for me, please? All right. I think we've actually got kind of a working idea how we're going to do this. Mary, thank you for sending those questions. I'll take a look at them. Joseph made a really good point. Are you there with us on the phone, Mr. Kirschling?
Yes, I'm here.
I feel like I'm doing talk radio here. Are you there, Mr. Kirschling? Go ahead. Joseph made a really good point. I like the idea of an exit interview would start with some basic questions. So homework assignment, as Alderman Rackow used to say, Jerry, are we going to have questions for the exit interview and then independently a questionnaire you can fill out and mail back at your discretion? 2 questionnaires, or we're certainly going to allow the exit interviewer, the commissioner, to expand the interview depending where it goes. I mean, we don't want to, if somebody comes and says, you got a major problem here with so-and-so and such, you don't want to say, okay, my next question is, you want to give them the flexibility. All right, I think we've got a pretty good rough outline. We'll finish this up in 3 weeks. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah. Excellent.
We have consensus? Okay.
I like it.
All right. Good. Later, somebody's going to explain what we decided. Okay. Item number 6, the approval of minutes. I had trouble finding the minutes because I discovered I stapled them to the back of Tom Zinner's report, and I kept looking and going, what did I do with the minutes here? But I found them. They're excellent as always. Commissioners, your thoughts, editorial?
I would move that we accept the minutes as submitted.
Okay. Is there a second?
I would second that.
Second. All in favor? Thank you, Jerry. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Item 7, confirmation of the bills. Robert, this is your area. You want to kick off the discussion on the bills, sir?
Just for purposes of bringing some things to attention, starting with the ambulance report on the ongoing budget part, I do see a category, licensing fees, that's completely spent. And this has been something I've been yapping about for a while, that we got to seriously look at our budgets on that. No criticism, no questioning of that, but I point out that that is over 100% gone. Then moving to the fire department, again, I would just have a question of the chief of what is cleanup from DCI course? What does that mean? It's on the monthly budget for August for 700.
That was to clean up the DCI had their first fire investigation, state certified fire investigation class.
Okay, that's what I thought it was.
The MOU we have with them is that in our training budget, we pick up the cleanup costs. If Chief Moody wants to address it any better than that, that's the best way I can put it.
Okay, I just didn't know what DCI stood for, Bob.
Department of Criminal Investigation, sir.
Okay. And then likewise on the backside on the ongoing budget, there's 2 items that are well over the 100%. Of course, we're not done with Moon. And again, software is a big one on that. So I just encourage the chiefs to keep beating on City Hall when budgets come up. And lastly, on the police report, Chief Zinner, near the top with a monthly one, 4,550. What is a Calio Copper Package Pro?
Calio is actually, and that's a 12 months, that's the annual subscription, and that's used by our investigators. And without going into what the product is, because that's some obviously tools for our investigators, it does have to do with telephone lines.
Okay, I suspected it was something like that, Tom. I just wanted to know again, you know, if you guys were buying some kind of fancy dress or, you know.
It's a software package.
Okay, and again, that's what I thought. And for Tom too, likewise, there's a couple of items that are 100% and a lot of them have to do with IT. So my big gripe will be like usual. I think budgets coming up have to be, how would I say, truly rated where they should be. In other words, get the proper amount up there so we're not running over budget before our year is out. Thank you, people.
Somewhere, and now of course I can't find it. Chief Finn, I thought I saw somewhere we had a cleanup at Station 1 because of some water. Where did I see that, or am I?
That's going to be, if you want me to talk about it now or in my chief's report?
Oh, let's talk about it in the chief's
Let's talk about it in the
chief's report. Okay. Okay. All right.
And Gary, if there's no other discussion, I'd move to
I'm kind of losing audio in and out. Joseph, are you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. All right. We have a motion from Commissioner Ostrowski to accept the bills, place them on file. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Mrozek. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor of accepting the bills as presented to the commission, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Item number 8, review of the fire and police operational budgets. I guess the question I have for Chief Finn and Chief Zenner, has City Hall issued its budgetary guidance for next year already?
Should have.
Yes, they have.
Okay, and what is that guidance?
0% increase in your operating budget.
Good luck.
And to answer Commissioner Ostrowski's question, so in next year's budget, in the fire department side, we added $5,000 to the software licensing fee, but the way we did that was reducing other line items. And we also took money out of the EMS. I believe it was, we added software licensing fee. We added $3,000 in the EMS budget to cover that to make a total of $17,000. And then the fire side, we're going to be at $20,000. But the way to accomplish that was, so you know, is that we had to reduce other line items. And we submitted our operating budget to the city. There was a small presentation, like I said, on capital. So we have submitted ours. And to answer a lot of your questions that you brought up, Commissioner Ostrowski, about the software, that's how the fire department had to deal with it. We had to lower other line items to so we can balance our line items better than we have been.
Chief, I fully understand that, and I truly appreciate it. That is not the way I wanted the city to address it, but I can totally understand it as the way you were forced into it. Thank you.
Well, Chief Zenner and Chief Finn, if the city issued budget guidelines that there would be no increases in your operational budget, I would imagine the formulation of the document for next year wasn't all that difficult to do.
It was difficult for the fire department because when you're raising one line item $5,000, you have to remove it, and you have to remove that money from 3 or 4 different line items to get to that $5,000. So there was a lot of time spent by Chief Moody and Chief Gemza to get so everything balanced out.
Yeah, and thank you, Chief. I apologize, colleagues. I guess that was more sarcasm than it was anything else. But
I'm pretty good at picking up sarcasm. I apologize because I'm pretty good at it.
Well, that's because you're Irish and I'm English, so I figure. I'm a little surprised that it's 0-0. How are they handling wages outside of the budgets, chiefs? Obviously, you can't have a zero-based budget with. I assume it's zero-based budget on all non-salary and fringe benefit items.
From my understanding, go ahead, Bob.
It was for fire department was 0% on line items that we control.
Right.
Anything else that we don't control, the city will take care of. And wages are going to have to figure it in there after contract talks are done. Because Tom, the current contract with the firefighters run out on December 31st of this year.
Right. Tom?
And on my budget, that's where you'd see wage adjustment. Those were budget line items that would have been directly affected by wages, whether what step they're in and how that would affect it. And as for a city as a whole, from my understanding is any monies that would have been brought in the city due to development that basically they're able to collect more, that was going to be directed to wages across the board, or I guess addressed COLA for those personnel that are not covered by union.
Okay. Okay, well, as a colleague of mine says all the time, it is what it is. It's an interesting move. Mary, are you on finance by any chance?
No, I'm not. I know the council, our philosophy's been to try to retain the employees that we have. So we've always tried to, if we have to short something else, we want to make sure that wages keep up with at least the cost of living. So as you all well know, the cost of training employees is a big investment. So I'd rather see the personnel get the funds where possible, and the capital needs that we have too. But we haven't seen anything on the operating budget. We saw a capital budget presentation last night. So.
Okay. All right. Anything else? I don't know that we really have. Jerry? Tom, Denise, any thoughts? I don't have anything else to add here. All right. I'm going to move then to our police chief's report. No longer interim police chief's report, but now the police chief's report. Chief Zenter.
Thank you. I just to hit a couple of the hot spots. We are continuing to work with our new records management system. We have some of our officers, Candy Torque, Brian Brooks, Jeremy Mueller has been working very hard on that transition. And we're pretty much on target that I would assume that we'll begin training in October, but we're still very much involved in that. We did have a performance review sent out. We had officers Mel Plummer, officer Zachary Gartman, and officer Cody Stankuski that did receive the department's life-saving award. And that was for an incident on August 12th. A couple things popped up this past month of note. You noticed I have let me see, calls of interest, multiple dates. We had several calls involving self-harm that I really have not seen for some time, or if ever. We had two individuals this past month or in August that died of self-inflicted gunshot wounds, and two individuals that survived, including one that was involved with the life-saving award from lacerations. I did identify those calls in the mental health section. Officer Mike Ratzik, who works in that area, as well as obviously our patrol officers that respond. Those are significant calls and something that we'll be keeping an eye on, not only for those calls for service, but the officers that respond. They're one of those types of calls that we do like to touch base with our officers, activate our peer support, and monitor that with all public safety personnel. The other thing that popped up, and actually just before this meeting took place, I went into the archives and looked at last year's monthly use of force. I wasn't sure if I had started collecting that data or putting it in the report, but we have. Back last year, we talked about how we had continually went down in our use of force within the police department. It did seem like I was adding quite a few narratives under this section this year, and we have. Where we're looking at the end of August last year, we were at 31 incidents of use of force. This year we're running at 58. 8 of them this past month, and kind of coincides with what we're seeing with the mental health section and the self-harm calls, we're seeing different calls for service that are significantly more dangerous and require the level of force. Many of those, as we know, and just to clarify, I did talk to Lieutenant Joe Johnson in the next month or the following, either next month or the month after that, depending on what the agenda is. I'm going to have him come to the Police and Fire Commission and give a presentation. He's the one that compiles the statistics for our use of force, and he's our lead instructor in the use of force within the department. He's going to be a really good resource. Hopefully explain some of the things that we gather. But even though it's identified as the use of force, in many times that could be the display of a handgun during an event where, you know, the physical act of a force has not taken place. It's the display of force. And we have seen an increase in that. I'm not going to go down and do a hypothetical, which I'm sure probably the media will be following up not too long after this call, asking me for my opinion on it. I can draw some conclusions. All of us, I'm sure, could come in with our own conclusions why that we may be seeing that, but it is definitely something that we'll be following moving forward in the future. Is there any questions that anybody had?
Tom, I have a couple. Yes or no? We currently meet or exceed all federal and state reporting mandates and requirements for use of force, correct?
Well exceed in our reporting standards, yes.
And I think that's an important point we're going to make over and over again, that we more than exceed all the federal and state requirements for reporting. I want to talk a little bit about the mental health officers. Do we currently have officers on patrol with advanced training and education in the mental health area as we did a couple of years ago, Chief?
Yeah, yes, we maintain that. All our officers attend crisis intervention training. That's a 40-hour block. And so I'm just letting some people in here. A 40-block-hour advanced training involving individuals that are in crisis. We require all our officers to attend that training. Obviously, we've hired some new officers, and with COVID happening, that has affected some of our training. At this point, obviously, in-person training has began. Hopefully, we'll get some local CIT training. We did, I think that was about 2 years ago, where we had some in Wood County. We have personnel at our department that assist in that training too. But yeah, so our officers receive significant training dealing with mental health.
It's very clear, at least to this commissioner, as we read these reports month after month, year after year, the need in that area is expanding in our community and not contracting. Would you agree?
Yes.
So we will need to continue to formulate strategies that effectively help those in need in our community, that these aren't always necessarily force matters. These are intervention matters. Yes, I have a psychologist in the family. You're right. Okay. Questions? Yes, Robert, go ahead.
A couple of things for the chief. One is, please pass on to Officer McClough my high respect for responding to the call when he was off duty to assist in that situation on the 4th of August. That speaks well of him and of your department. So please pass on those to him. Second of all, we accepted an intern. Is that for one semester? Is that for a year? How does that work, Thomas?
That's for a semester. We have an ongoing program that we've done with Mid-State, and that's a great opportunity for to have a student come in here, have our officers work with that student. We've had a fair number of them through the past few years. We took a break there, obviously, during the COVID period. This is our first intern that we've had in-house since pre-COVID, I guess. Is that a term we'll call pre-COVID? This is our first one we've had into the house, and it's progressing excellent.
Is that a student that is in the police science curriculum?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Well,
is that for credit?
With him or her, I wish them the best.
Did they get credit for that, Tom?
Yeah, well, I will have to double check on that. Previously, we have, depending on what school that is. I'm pretty sure he does get credit for that one. I know ones in the past have. So,
yeah, how many hours are they committing to? I can tell you off the top of my head.
I believe it was 40 hours. We've had 40 hours and we had 120 hours.
If 120 hours, you're going to have to give 3 credits to, and you probably should take a look at least 2 credits for that.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions from the commissioners? All right. I'm going to move the acceptance of Chief Zenner's report.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Moore. Any comment or discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you, Tom. Robert, you're next here. Chief Finn.
Apologize before I start because this might be a long report.
You don't have to apologize. You take as much time as you need to.
First of all, before I forget, President Westcott, at the last PFC meeting, the board voted to accept the MOU with Local 484 and the bonus sick hours. And then I was under the assumption you were going to get a hold of me, but now that you're back, you just want me to contact you within the next week and we'll go through the process. You're the only signature needed.
Yeah, let's just work it out. You can bring it over and kind of like we did last time, just wait. I'll find it and give it back to you right away.
Okay, I'll make sure it gets done this week, sir. Okay.
Okay, that's fine, Bob.
Okay, second of all, in your report, new monitors, heart monitors went into service after many hours of training and troubleshooting. They finally went on the rigs this week. Also, you can see they're cooking for veterans. It was out there, for set of guns and hoses for a softball game. We decided to cook for veterans, and we stood out in the pouring rain all day, got soaked. But we did raise money for a good cause. Us in the police department. We did get wet though, right, Tom?
Yes, we did.
That was the weekend. We got
I'm sorry. What's the problem with a firefighter getting wet? I'm missing something.
We were fine. It was the coppers complaining. The coppers were all walking around with umbrellas. We were out there like this is nothing.
Yeah, don't you guys deal with don't you guys deal with water? I mean, come on.
You didn't see one fireman under an umbrella, but you saw a lot of coppers under umbrellas. Glad you brought that up. I forgot.
Yeah, okay.
Fire report is pretty normally what it is. We had the ribbon cutting at the training site. I want to thank Commissioner Moore and Commissioner Kirsten for his kind words when he talked. He did a great job speaking there, sir.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Commissioner Kirschling spoke publicly at an event?
Yes, he did. Yes. He kept it under an hour, too.
It was short and sweet.
Is there tape available of that?
Yes, there is.
Excellent. Good job, Commissioner. Good job, Joseph. I'm proud of you.
And it was brought up earlier. Their first DCI course was run.
Yep.
The importance of that training site is that brought in 30 people, 30 or 38 people, Chief Moody, I'm not sure, from out of town that stayed in hotels, and and they're going to probably extend the class, and there'll be 2 classes here held next year. So I just wanted to bring that out.
Each class has 37 participants. There's 24 students and 13 instructors that are here for 2 weeks. So we bring 37 people to the Stevens Point area for 2 weeks when we host that class. And like the chief said, we'll be hosting that class again next spring and potentially again in the fall next year.
Nice.
Great.
I want to bring up that firefighter paramedic John Clements came off probation and 9/1. Due to COVID and stuff, we just swore him in right before he came off probation because the swearing in is on the fire report. But it was a long process, but we finally were able to get him sworn in. Firefighter paramedic Jen Petkoff comes off on September 21st. You can see when Training Officer Trevor Howard was here, he's a little bit out of uniform with the beard. It didn't go unnoticed, Trevor. But the reason is he's not at the firehouse. He's a proud father of a new baby girl, Lydia. There she is.
Congratulations.
There you go.
All right. Well, everybody just let me see. Let's see, Trevor. Come on, let's see the little girl. Oh, fortunately, she looks just like mom.
Fortunately.
Congratulations.
Very nice.
Thank you.
She's beautiful. What was the name again, Trevor?
Lydia.
Congratulations to you and to your wife.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Yes, it is. The city's expanding.
Yeah.
Future firefighter paramedic, right?
Hey.
Congratulations.
We'll
Well done, Chief.
And then also for the hiring process, we kind of did something that we've never done before, is we did interviews of candidates that are taking the CPAP and their ergometrics at Fox Valley. So this week, isn't it?
Yes, Chief. So they're going to be taking the test the 16th and 17th of this week, and we should have the results next week, either on the 21st or 22nd.
Okay. So what that did by having the interviews, we have formulated a list, a tentative list, and then we go through all the information that Fox Valley Tech gives us. We will form a list, and hopefully, if everybody passes everything, I think we're going to have a list of 4 for you to approve in October, at October's 5th meeting. And then we could give conditional offer employments to start sometime. We would like to start a fire academy on November 8th or November the 15th. And have how many people? Like hopefully 4 people. And in the meantime, because we're between Fox Valley and Chippewa Valley, we are going to run our own test through GeoGov, and that's coming up. I wish I had the date. Do you remember the dates, Chief? Because I don't. It's a Saturday. I don't remember what day it is. It's September something. October, isn't it?
Yes, I believe our private exam is going to either be the 9th or 16th of October.
Correct. And then we will do interviews and hopefully get you another list sometime in November, and we can keep hiring. So we are doing everything humanly possible, changing the ways we do it and everything to bring the department up to full manning.
Chief, how many short are we at this time?
We're short 7, but we have one guy that's been deployed since the beginning of COVID. We haven't seen him for 18 months or 16 months. And then we got a couple people out on long-term medical.
Thank you.
I do like that. I've stated this before, that the initiatives of trying things different in the fire department, I really like that movement and what you guys are doing. So I just want to state that again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Gary, I did screw up on my little talk at the fire training site on that opening. I didn't mention by name JB Moody, who deserves a lot of credit for making that site happen. He has put in a lot of time and a lot of effort, and I think, Bob, you can second that.
Yes.
JB's done a tremendous job with the fire training site, and I failed to mention him when I had spoken. So JB, you're to be commended on all the work that you've done on that.
Here.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, the last thing that President Westcott brought up was flooding at Station 1.
Yeah.
We used to get water once in a while, a little puddle here, a little puddle there. Well, this year we've had 2 major floods, in about 3 or 4 months. Right now, we have approximately $20,000 in expenditures, and we got over 200 man hours to clean it up. The parking lot that was in for this year's capital, there was an expenditure of $60,000. Well, now that price has gone up to $115,000.
Why?
Also, we have a cost of $51,000 to put drain tiles in the basement, and I believe have 3 sump pumps. We're working with utilities and public works, and I have another meeting with them either tomorrow or Thursday. No one can guarantee that if we put gutters on the building and then to get groundwater underneath the parking lot into a holding cell and then pump out the water into the storm sewer, if that's going to fix the problem. Or if you spend $51,000 and put drain tiles in the basement and direct it to the sump pumps, is that going to fix the problem? My concern is I can't go to Corey and say we need an extra $100,000 and this isn't going to fix the problem. So we can't continue to do business the way we're doing. We had to buy new shelving units in case this ever happened again. My understanding is due to the amount of water, the water table has come up. I know firsthand the water tables are up in other areas too. And when we get a 2-3 inches rain, Chief Moody has video of the water from the pressure groundwater is coming up through the cracks, and it's like a water fountain. I mean, it's 2 inches high, the water coming out of the cracks. Wow. The sump pumps are holding the water. I mean, it's not coming in so fast that the sump pumps can't handle it, but if you relieve the pressure without putting the drain tiles in or putting the drain tiles in, or the sump pump's going to hold it up. And does the retention pond that's next to the firehouse have anything to do with it? Because this problem didn't occur until Uwsp put the lot next to the firehouse along with their retention pond. And the city has a contract, utilities has a contract maintenance on that retention pond. That might be adding a problem to the groundwater table too. So the long short of it is we can't live like this. We have to fix it. And I just don't know how much it's going to cost. We are working diligently. Chief Moody is, again, done a yeoman job and working with other departments. And Chief, you got anything to add? I mean, this is pretty much where we're at, right? We have to make a decision, so we have to get extra funds. And I mean, be perfectly honest with you, the comptroller's office was very receptive to the $51,000. They said, it's got to get done. It's got to get done. They're not fighting this. I just want to make sure that as a department head, when I go to the comptroller and ask for $50,000 or $80,000 extra, that it's going to fix the problem. That's all. I'm sorry. You got anything else, Chief?
JB?
No, Chief, you hit everything. Our biggest concern here, like the Chief already said, is we have a few different options or projects that we could start. But the problem is the experts are even telling us we don't know which one is going to fix or alleviate the issue. So the Chief's biggest concern is how much money do we spend? And if we spend it all and we still have the problem at the end, what did it accomplish? It's a concern to us in solving the solution to the flooding in the basement.
All right, Bob, I'll come out in a second here. I want to unpack a little bit of this. And Jerry, I'm going to rely on your memory here too. In all the years I've been working with city government in this city, I don't ever recall a time where I've heard about a consistent flooding problem at fire headquarters. And I'm willing to say, well, my memory isn't perfect. Maybe it's existed over. Is this a new issue? And Jerry, do you remember in your years as an alder, we ever talk about this?
There was not the only issues with water were the two underpasses. I don't remember anything with the fire department. There was, back in the day, a long time ago, I know that Mosey Creek goes through underground, through the YMCA property and underneath, probably close to where the firehouse is now. But that should have all been encased in that concrete tunnel that they made for it that goes all the way down to Piffner Park.
Yeah.
So
President Westcott, this has occurred 3 times in the last 3 years, twice in the last 3 months. Other than that, we've never had this issue like this before.
All right. So what happened 3 years ago, Bob?
it's that new parking lot.
That's when they put UWSP put the parking lot in.
Yep.
And there is a retention pond.
Yes.
And that would be likely, I'm not an engineer, but it likely would be exacerbating the problem.
And that had to be okayed by the Plan Commission, and it had to be okayed by the city water and sewer works.
It was approved by everybody, and that's why the city has a contract maintenance on it. It's my understanding is UWSP's parking lot, UWSP's retention pond, but city utility has a contract maintenance agreement with UWSP to maintain your retention pond.
So why isn't the city utility paying for the problems?
Right.
Instead of the firehouse?
Because they're not going to say 100% that's the problem.
Of course they're not, because they don't want to pay for it.
Well, they're saying to get the water away from the building. We have the one guy today came out for gutters and says, well, you don't have to put it in the ground, put it here. And we can't put it there because everyone else is saying this is the problem. Too much water's here already. So we got 3 different people telling us 3 different things. Chief Moody wants to talk, I could tell. He's ready to jump.
No, I just wanted to comment on everything that was said. We did have the water department utilities over here. We did talk about Moses Creek. We did talk about the encasement of the creek. We talked about the UWSP maintenance agreement. Again, we had all the experts here to discuss this issue. And what they're telling us right now is it's multiple things that are needing to be done. One is the gutters. 2 is the part with the addition to the back parking lot. Financially, we're looking at the drain tile in the basement. Our initial assessment was that we needed 11 feet of drain tile cut in. When they came back and truly assessed the situation with Station 1's basement underwater, they decided that we're currently we're estimating about 350 feet of drain tile is going to have to be cut and placed in. And so there's several significant projects that are going to happen. And of all the experts, no one can tell us if any of one of these things is going to alleviate the problem and not have it happen again.
My question is that if the UWSP parking lot being put in is the only thing that's changed, you didn't change the inside of the building. You didn't change the outside of the building. The building was working the way it was designed before that.
Correct.
Then you shouldn't be changing your building to fix their problem. That should be done by the city works department or the city water department because the design of that parking lot is wrong. You can't be modifying the fire department building to repair a problem that they caused. They should fix their problem on their property, and you shouldn't be spending the money on it. To change the building at 350 feet of drain tile is ridiculous. It's worked for how many years? That's not the right way to fix this.
But also, again, I'm not an engineer. I just know that with the amount of rain we're getting, these were when we got the one weekend we got to 7 inches of rain, the other times when we got to 3 or 4 inches of rain, that the water table's so high it's creating the pressure. I don't know how the retention pond works. I don't. But my understanding is that the parking lot and the retention pond were put in up to code. So that is doing their job. And how it's affecting our building, I don't know. But I agree with you, Commissioner Moore. It's one thing's changed in the last 3 or 4 years is the parking lot. That kind of makes sense. Okay, but I get that. You know,
I'm just saying that you shouldn't be forced to come up with all of this money for a problem that you're trying to fix that you don't know how to fix because it's not your problem. You didn't do this. The only thing that's changed in that neighborhood is that parking lot. They need to go back and re-look at that and revisit it and find out where they screwed up the plans, and they need to fix it because that's where the problem is. Your building didn't change.
You're right. But in the meantime, we cannot use our basement. I mean,
I get that, but I'm just saying that don't give in and pay the money for something that you didn't cause and don't owe the money for.
Well, don't get me wrong. The comptroller treasurer's been great. It's not coming out of our budget. I mean, so
that's not the point either.
And he can blame it on the fire department, streets, utilities. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? He's been very cordial to work with. It just is that I, in good faith, cannot go to him, say, spend this money if I don't have some type of reasonable assurance that this is going to fix the problem. That's all I'm trying to say.
100% agree with you.
Commissioner Ostrowski?
Going through this same thing with a facility not too far from you, Chief, it has become very well aware you're not going to find any expert, I haven't been able to, that will guarantee what they recommend will work. Not the several I've tried to solve a similar problem by a neighbor of yours. But if you stop and think back, the amount of paved over area in that neighborhood, how it's changed. You know, the water's got to go someplace. So, and I'm very well familiar with Mosey's Creek. I can remember when it was an open sewer, you know, basically running through that area. But it handled it. And I remember when they put the stuff in. So I totally agree that the changing factor is just one item. I think they need to be brought into the conversation. But again, it's another paved over area. You used to have houses there with green grass and everything else. You now have a paved over area. And holding ponds in a city, I'm sorry, it's just it's just another way of stalling a problem because the water still is there. It's going to eventually move somewhere else. You've got to get that water moving away from the building. I agree with all the Commissioner Moore. That problem really, you've inherited the headache, but you didn't cause the problem. Other people have to be brought in on this. There's got to be a thorough study, but don't look for anybody. In my experience in the last month and a half that I've been doing research on this stuff, for anybody to say this will work. And I'm talking to people in the ceiling business, in the putting in tile, all of this stuff. They all will kind of at the last minute say, well, we would suggest this. And nobody will guarantee it.
I get it.
Yeah, you see, to me, there are a number of aspects of this conversation that are troubling. But I think the most troubling thing is what I've heard from you, Chief Finn, and from you, Assistant Chief Moody, and correct me if I have this wrong, that the experts, quote unquote, have identified a number of solutions, but they don't know that any of these solutions will really permanently fix the problem. That's just goofiness to me. I mean, let's develop what the problem is. Let's figure that out. We certainly have enough good minds in this community to do that. And then let's come up with a solution that can walk into JB's office and say, here's the problem, and here's exactly what you got to do to fix it. I mean, that's really concerning to me that we have all these proposals, but we don't know they're really going to fix it. Is that kind of what I'm hearing here?
Yeah, it's government at its best. The price double, and it takes you 3 times as long to build it and get it done.
Oh boy. I'd like this back on the agenda in a month. I want to see where we are. I'm gonna make a few calls after this meeting, Tom.
But we are meeting up. Commissioner Stress, you say, utility is involved. I mean, last night we had discussions. I had discussions with the director of utilities, director of public works. JB's had numerous conversations with engineering, and they're not just saying this is your problem. None of them are saying that. And Comptroller Laddick has been okay. It's just that, I mean, the easiest thing to be would say this is what it is. Figure out how to pay for it. I want some reasonable assurance before I sit down with the comptroller, treasurer, saying, you know what, I'm pretty sure this is going to work. I'm not 100% sure, but we can't keep, every time we get an inch of rain, we can't have our workout equipment room. Guys can't use the basement. We're throwing stuff out every time it rains. We have to get it fixed.
My frustration is you didn't change anything. You're fixing something that you can't fix, because if it's coming from outside of your building, it doesn't matter what you do to your building, it's still going to get in. If it doesn't come in through the floor, it's going to come in another way. Yeah. So you're not going to fix it. You're pushing rope is what they're asking you to do. And it's getting really expensive.
I understand it. Believe me.
So I say don't.
Your frustration. We've been living this for the last 4 or 5 weeks trying to figure this out.
There's some professional that's using the term professional and they shouldn't be. That's all I'm saying.
I would think that the city's insurance carrier would want to be involved in this.
I would
think so.
They are involved. And that's why we're keeping track of man hours and costs. Chief Moody can explain that process because he did talk to Comptroller Laddick about it.
So with that, obviously you're aware, President Westcott, that city self-insured, and the right now at this point, if it was $25,000 or less, the insurance carrier was not going to be involved. And at this point, us dealing with the man hours of the cleanup in the basement and just what we had to actually throw away and purchase new, we are actually going to be under the $25,000 for the product that we lost in the basement that we're going to have to repurchase. So the insurance company has not got involved with the process.
What's our lost time on this, Chief? When you say we have had to put X number of person hours, I assume you have firefighter paramedics doing this. Is that a correct assumption on my part?
Yes, sir.
If you give me 1 second, sir.
Are these on duty firefighter paramedics doing this, or are they coming in on their time off?
No, this is on duty.
Okay, so what's not getting done?
On August 28th, we had 9.5 hours. And that turned out to be 63.5 man hours. On August 29th, 4.5 hours was 36 man hours. 36 man hours on August 30th, August 31st, 20 man hours. September the 1st, 40 man hours. September the 2nd, 5 personnel or 5 hours on the clock for 25 hours. 9/3. 16 hours, and then 9/4, they did 6 manpower hours, over 200 man hours.
Well, thank you. I was just going to say off the top of my head, doing math in my head, I have you at over 225 person hours. What are we not doing? What would they have been doing in that 225 hours as far as training, events, life support training, firefighting techniques versus mopping the basement?
They would have been doing all of that. We did have to cancel and reschedule a whole block of training. I don't remember what training session it was. So, because we had to do the stop loss. I mean, there was stuff that had mold on it down there. I mean,
who's got lead on this for the city other than you? Dealing with Joe Lemke, the director. Who?
I would appoint to Chief Moody.
JB has lead on this. Okay. Well, I can't speak for my colleagues, but losing 225 hours of advanced life support training, firefighting training is absolutely, positively, 100% unacceptable. I commend all of you for doing it, for showing the initiative. This is not criticism of the fire service. I commend you for having the initiative to say, we got a mess, we got to clean it up. But I mean, we're not talking 10 or 15 hours here. We're talking a lot of time.
Yes.
And you folks are involved in very, very difficult work at time of a pandemic with the life-saving medical that you are required by law to maintain your licensure on. I'm going to be making some calls tomorrow, and Jerry remembers my happy days when I call people. So, okay. I mean, somebody's going to have to get off the dime and get this thing figured out. We've got enough good minds in this city. I know both those engineers and some of their crews, and there's a lot of good minds at that university. Somebody can figure out what's causing the problem. And as Jerry said, if it's the retention pond next door, well, then they're going to have to figure out a better solution for that. Where does that retention pond drain to?
It retains, it doesn't drain.
No, there's some type of filtration system in there that's in there. It filters the water, makes it cleaner to dump into, it removes the salt and stuff for eco-friendly stuff to dump it into the city sewers. So there is some type of pumping system, and that was discussed last night. Is this thing pumping out so efficiently is filling the groundwater, and that's one of the things that engineering and utilities we're going to look at either tomorrow, Wednesday or Thursday. So we've had that discussion, but no, it doesn't sit there. It gets pumped out.
Yeah, it has to go somewhere. All right, I certainly will defer to my colleagues here. I want you and JB to continue to keep on top of this, keep this commission informed. I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna make some calls.
Again, I apologize for keep talking. I know it's been a long meeting.
Nah, it really hasn't. Bob?
Just a side comment, and I wanted to ask something else. I suspect maybe it's holding it too long. It's not getting rid of it fast enough, not for filtration system. But Bob, what is Aqua Eye for Tech Rescue? What is that on your agenda there?
I'm gonna let Chief Moody explain it, but basically it's sonar for water rescue. Oh, Trevor, I let Division Chief Howard talk about it. Go ahead, Trevor.
Turn your mic on. There you go.
So it's a new sonar device that we purchased for Tech Rescue for our water rescue. It's a shore-based operation that allows us to scan the water up to 2 acres in, I believe, less than in 2 minutes. And it will point out potential bodies in the water. So if we have a victim that is subsurface, it will allow us to better pinpoint their potential location. And that was one of the trainings that we had to postpone due to the basement flooding. But it's much like a fish finder, I guess you would say, where it does sonar. However, it's portable, it's handheld, and it's much easier to use than a fish locator would be. So it is a water rescue device that will better help us locate victims that have gone subsurface.
Terrific. I was just wondering, was that a budget or was that a grant item?
That was in Chief Moody, our Tech Rescue capital.
Correct.
Capital budget.
Okay. It's a capital improvement project that was purchased through our Tech Rescue program.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Nice.
And no, Bob, you can't borrow it. I knew where he was going with that. All right. All right. Anything else, Chief Finn, Chief Moody, Trevor, for the fire report here today? Yes, sir. Go ahead, Bob. You got the floor.
I know before you adjourn the meeting, I'd just like to say again, everyone keep their thoughts and prayers with Captain Matlin and his family, please. It means a lot to him, and it means a lot to us. That's all.
All right, I'm going to move acceptance of the fire chief's report and EMS report. Is there a second?
Kirschling, second.
Second by Commissioner Kirschling. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Given the length of the meeting, I'm going to dispense with the majority of what I was going to share and report here today. Since we meet in 3 weeks, I can do it then. I would echo what we heard from Bob. Please keep Paul Matlin and his family in your prayers. It's been an interesting meeting. We welcomed through Trevor and his beautiful little baby a new member to our community, and congratulate you and your family on that. Is that your first child, Trevor? Said the nosy old man.
Third.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, then you're an expert at raising babies. I'm not going to impart.
I don't know about that, but we're learning as we go.
Well,
he's an expert. He's an expert in knowing when to go to the hospital when she's in labor.
Well, it's been an interesting meeting. We have welcomed a new member. We keep Paul Matlin in our prayers. We again offer congratulations to Chief Zenner. I expect to see no more reports or documentations with the word interim on them. You certainly earned that, Thomas. That is something you earned, and it is not a gift. Now, unfortunately, with that comes great responsibility to even do more and better and greater than you have done. And I'm very confident it's in the right hands. With that being said, I thank you all for your time, your energy. We will gather again in a few weeks. We are adjourned. Thank you.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.